everyone. Thank you so much for joining me with another episode. And I'm super, super excited to have my guest, Kara King, with me today. I met Kara I want to say about 2 months ago,
Mhm.
at a networking event here in Flagler, the professional women's, what's it count?
Professional women of
Women's
Flagler County.
That's it. I was missing a word. I knew it was county. I was like, where's the other word coming from? Yeah, and so she did my mom and me. We did some really quick facials, learned a lot about her. She's been in the medical industry for about 17 years, 10 of those in dermatology. So she really knows what she's doing. And almost 2 years ago, she has now opened her own business here in Flagler in Palm Coast. And I'm really excited to have her on. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Hmm. So yeah, so I kind of did like a very brief overview on your history, especially professionally, but what brought you to Palm Coast / Flagler County in the first place?
So, I am originally from Ohio. I have lived in Florida. March will be 20 years. My husband worked at Sea Ray, which used to be open. They closed in 2018 and then they have since reopened as Boston Whaler. But when we moved, we were about 45 minutes to an hour away. And then because it was close to his job and industry, we came over here. Also, my daughter was starting kindergarten, and it was important for me for her to I wanted her to have a better education experience. So coming to Flagler County was the best option for our family.
That's awesome. Side note, when you had first told me your story when we met a few months ago and you were going through like, oh, I was from Ohio and then I came to Flagler and then I met my husband. I was like, oh yeah. And then you had brought up your daughter. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure like newborn, like kindergarten. Then you're like, yeah, I just dropped her off at college. College.
Yes, yes.
College.
So she went through school all through here. She's 18. She is studying animal science in Georgia. She wants to be a veterinarian. Yeah, so we moved in June of 2009 when the economy had kind of taken a drop.
Right. Yeah.
But it was really beneficial for us because at that time the housing market was so low. We bought our house for a quarter of what you could buy it for now.
Oh yeah. The prices in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the past few years, have just been crazy up and
Mm-hmm.
down. You don't know what it's
Yeah,
going to be like tomorrow. You don't know what the rates are going to look like tomorrow. It's just like it is a crazy place.
it
But I feel
is.
like it definitely tells to your profession that I had no idea that you would have an 18-year-old daughter. I was like, oh, I'm
That's
sure
why it's
she's
all the
like,
facials.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So about 2 years ago, you opened your own business here in Palm Coast, Flagler County. How has that experience been for you? Like, what inspired you to go off on your own, and how have you liked it?
So I was in dermatology for the last 10 years, but as a medical assistant, not in aesthetics. And there were several things that really impacted and changed in that time frame. COVID happened. And when we all came back from COVID, the way that patients were treating people in the medical industry, it was just really discouraging, especially for somebody like me who I've done everything there is to do in a medical setting, from an office manager, referrals, front desk, check in, check. I've even done medical records whenever I was 18. So then running that full gamut and having people just really kind of treat you nasty.
Mm.
Um, the esthetician, she was making twice as much money as I was. Everybody was happy to see her and get a facial. Nobody was happy to have cancer taken off. And I was kind of burnt out in the
Yeah.
position that I was in. So I was like, well, let me go back to school and kind of see, because I had managed several offices, it was kind of second nature to me. The only thing that I found difficult was initially starting out. So many other people will transition and they kind of have that clientele behind them. They'll already have a following or what have you. But I was coming straight out of medicine and that was what everyone knew me from.
Hmm.
So getting them to kind of switch their mindset and of course, they trusted me with their skin because of where I came from, but it was kind of weird for that. Oh, you're charging for your services. You're doing this, you're doing that now. So gathering that following and getting busy and, doing all of the social media and things like that, those were probably my main challenges. And I've learned so much, and all the time I learned little teeny tiny things that help me. But it's been so rewarding being able to spend those last 2 years of my daughter's high school, she was dual enrolled, so she would get out early, so we would be able to spend more time together. And just that impact was so nice. And I loved being able to make my own schedule and have that flexibility to spend time with her.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I those last few years before you go off to college, because those are the years she's gonna kind of remember the most, right before she
Mm-hmm.
goes off into the new world, her new
Yeah.
experiences. So I'm so glad that you're able to be there with her. Like you said, you moved here in 2009, so I'm sure you've seen Palm Coast just completely transform. What have you either enjoyed or maybe thought like, I didn't see that coming with all the changes coming here?
The number one thing that drives me crazy is the traffic. I live kind of in the more southwestern part of the county, more over like South Belterre, Target area in the Z section. And for instance, like they're building an entire new subdivision, apartment complex, and things like
Right.
that. They just repaved all the roads, but they didn't widen any of them. And I'm like, well, that wasn't very well planned out. But yeah, the growth has for me been a totally positive thing other than the traffic that drives me crazy. But I think it brings so many more opportunities to not only my field, but
Hmm.
to kids that are in school, to other businesses, to even chains bringing, you know, like a Texas Roadhouse to Palm Coast. Whenever I
Right.
first moved here, that was something you would never in a million years have imagined that could ever even be possible.
Wow.
And, just kind of those new and exciting things as we continue to grow.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I just moved about 2 years ago. I would say a little bit less than 2 years. And for me, Palm Coast, Flagler County is like small from where I'm
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting when I talk to people who've been here way longer. They're like, "Oh yeah, there was like two lights here
Uh-huh.
ever." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah. My
Sounds like a
husband grew
time.
up here and he even working here for almost 25 years working for the same company now, he'll be like, "Oh, well, there used to only be McDonald's and a Food Lion. Like there was
Oh
nothing else
wow.
on 100, like nothing." And I can remember those days too. I remember where they actually widened it to 4 lanes from two, and I was like, that was whenever I very first moved here
Hmm.
from Ohio, and I saw kind of that beginning of the growth right before that first boom that we had,
Hmm.
in the housing market before things calmed down. But even with this one, things aren't really slowing down this time.
No, for sure not.
Yeah.
I think there is like during 2020 and 2021 was like the biggest boost.
Yeah.
Florida, like I think a few thousand were moving like every day. Maybe the number is
Uh-huh.
bigger. I don't remember. Don't quote me on any of these numbers. I have no studies behind me. Um, but since you've been a veteran of the county, I would say, is there any advice that you'd give for someone who just maybe moved here, is thinking about moving here, or someone who maybe just a tourist? Like, what kind of advice do you have?
So one of the things that I love about Flagler County is the diversity. Like we have such a large combination of cultures. I mean, we have a large Portuguese, we have a large Russian population, Puerto Rican, like it just runs the gamut really. There are a lot of even Jamaican. It's crazy. And that's so cool to me because like being from Ohio, I mean, you might have like three different nationalities, but
Right.
in Flagler County, there's so many, and the diversity is really great, which is so awesome. Like I'm so
Hmm.
grateful that my daughter got to have that experience and it wasn't just, baseline one type of thing her whole entire life. Also like if you're a tourist, like just take care of our town, take care of Flagler Beach, treat it like it's your own, like be courteous. And pretty much I feel like the locals are pretty great about embracing tourists. But it's a great town. Like you can be in 10 minutes, you can be at the beach. In 10
Right.
minutes, you can be out in the middle of the country. You're, 45 minutes from Jacksonville. You're an hour from Orlando. You're pretty close to some major cities, but we still have that nice small town feel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. From what I've seen, everyone's been really welcoming towards all the, transplants and the
Yeah.
snowbirds and everyone new coming in. And I don't think
Hmm.
anyone's ever been like, don't come here, right?
Go back home.
Right. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
go back to Michigan. It's everyone's been really, really kind, and I completely agree. It's been really wonderful. There's so many different places that you can go within just a short drive. I feel like we're very perfectly situated along the
Yeah.
East Coast. It's been very lovely. So I'd love to spend these last few minutes just to talk a little bit about your business. Why should, I don't know about why. What is the perfect reason for someone to come stop by if they're thinking about what the heck is an esthetician? What is it? What should I go and seek care for?
Sure. So there's a couple things that set me apart. Working in the medical field is one of those. So my knowledge and my skill set is much more geared towards results. Um, Skincare is a journey. I say it all the time. There is no direct path, and it's important to me to be able to be there to support all of my clients.
Hmm.
Um, I have people who text me all different times, all different days of the week. And I don't mind, like, I encourage it because I want to be able to answer your questions. I want you to feel confident in your home care, in your routine that you're using. If something, if you're doing great and then you have a flare up, I want you to feel confident in reaching out to me and me being able to get you in right away. That's another thing that sets me apart. I work weekends, I work evenings, I work early morning. I am appointment only, which gives me that flexibility
Hmm.
because if I'm coming in at 7 for someone, then I can kind of block a little later in the day. But then also there's times whenever I'm there till 7 or 8 in the evening where I come in a little later. um, and like I said, just that medical skill set. So there are things that actually I am capable of doing and performing that most estheticians are not. Um, from deeper level microneedling, because I do have a medical director in our facility, different chemical peels that not many estheticians are comfortable with, just kind of a upgraded higher tier level of care is something that I pride myself on being able to present to everyone.
Yeah, that's great. And as someone who had, with you having such a extensive, I would say, history in that medical field, someone with like brand new, like I have no idea anything about skincare, but I can kind of throw most questions at you and you'd be able to answer, or you at least have the resources that if you don't know, maybe someone that you worked with
Yeah,
before knows. And I think that's really cool as well.
definitely. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Kara, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a few minutes with me. I really appreciate it. Is there any last thing you'd kind of like to throw out there before we wrap it up?
No, I just appreciate you having me on, getting to know our awesome city. Feel free, anyone listening, to reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, I'm not on TikTok that much. Or you can just call or text me 386-559-0820.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time.
Welcome. Thank you so much.